Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the report of the next Tory coup attempt, apparently taking place a lot sooner than expected. According to the Telegraph, some boneheads with major donor backing are going to launch a campaign in the next few weeks in an attempt to topple Badenoch and, in their words, unite the right. The plan is, of course, completely insane, but let's take a look at the trailer for this spring political blockbuster that we're being promised. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So there's lots going on today, actually. As Labour, Conservatives and Reform UK, I've intended, although changing news stories can change things, to do a video on each of them, about dedicated to essentially how each of them seems to be wanting to trip themselves up in the race to beat the other two at the next election. And I was going to kick off on the latest with the benefits scandal, but I'm trying to find an answer to a very specific question I have, and I've not been able to do so in time for the first video, so I'll have to be later today. But the Conservatives are going to be opening today's batting a campaign seemingly called Unite the Right, which wants to jettison Kemi Badenoch. They argue that an increasing number of Tory MPs see that she's doomed, and this is true enough, but it would still be a very bad idea to get rid of her right now. Their plan is to get their campaign up and running with the promise of getting a leader who can do a deal with Reform UK to stand down candidates for them, like similar to 2019, I guess. They would then use what are expected to be horrific results for the Tories in the local elections to put pressure on Badenoch, declare her time over, get her removed. However, there are multiple problems with their thinking here. The first is that there is no sign that Reform UK want to do a deal for the next election. I can believe that Canada is their long-term plan. I've said so a few times, to merge Reform UK with the Conservative Party, creating a more right-wing Tory party. But they don't need to be in a rush to do so. If Reform UK believe they can win roughly as many seats as the Tories at the next election, why would they look to do a deal? So it'll be several years before anyone knows how voters are likely to approach the next election. So the chances of a deal emerging so early in this parliamentary cycle is zero. So it makes no sense to run a campaign for one. All you do is destabilise the Conservative Party. Second reason is also related to the time before the next election. Kemi Badenoch is a disaster, yes. She is politically inept. Every interview, even with friendly interviewers, is a disaster area. She is actually a lot lazier than I'd originally thought. She rarely does interviews at all. When she does, they're an absolute mess. But there's also plenty of time to replace her. If they get rid of her too soon, they risk getting someone who might be no better. And even if they're a little bit better, is that really good enough? The Tories have still not had a serious discussion about the best way to tackle Reform UK. Some of them think that by becoming a weaker version of Reform, that is the way to go. Others think, no, we should focus on the policy areas where Farage fears to tread. But there's been no debate within the Conservative Party, and so how can they really decide which leader will be best unless they've done that? Because the Conservative leader has an incredibly tough job as it is. Even if they weren't as hopeless as Badenoch, even a strong leader would be looking at a very bad poker hand right now. The local elections are going to be carnage for them, even with a strong leader. They are. They are going to have to come up with a plan to challenge Labour, not just now, not in the here and now, relatively straightforward in the here and now. In a few years' time, where the results of their policies are going to be way more popular than the groundwork they're currently laying. They also have to work on a plan to challenge the Lib Dems, who hold a lot of the seats they need to win. And of course, they need to work on a plan to stop votes leaking to Reform UK. And they may even have to do it against a background of yet another far-right party emerging, which may get Elon Musk's backing. Isn't even related to this Unite the Right campaign. The Tory leader has a tougher gig than Starmer did back in 2020. They need an absolute titan of a leader, and a rushed regicide and second leadership contest inside the same parliament is not likely to produce it. And if they get it wrong, and they're very likely to get it wrong, then things will just be worse. So then they'll end up in a year or two's time having to face a choice. Do you go for a third leader inside the same parliament for the second parliament in a row, making them look proper clown-like, or having to accept that they can't change leader again, so they're just going to have to get hammered in the next election as well, which will then put off donors, because that'll just be a proper loser mentality. Whereas, even if they get another useless leader after Badenoch, if they wait until later in the parliament, then they've got less time to shit the bed with the public. It might not be that bad. Plus, if they wait another year or so, they can see how the Labour and Reform UK strategies are shaping up and use that to inform their own change in direction. Makes absolutely no sense to get rid of Badenoch now. If they don't like how she's shaping up, maybe they shouldn't have voted for her in the first place. And if they genuinely believe that she would have worked out well, maybe they should have spent more time listening to me, less time reading the bollocks in the Telegraph. And the third problem with their thinking, there's not going to be a united right-wing caucus at the next election. If Reform UK did a deal with the new Tory leadership that would just make the teased new far-right party, which Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe are connected with, more likely. Now, sure, I doubt they will have the magnetic appeal of Farage's party, but if Reform UK did a deal to bow out, and that's what this campaign group wants, that doesn't matter. They would only need to be more appealing than whichever automaton the Tories have as leader. And that is a way easier prospect, especially with Musk's millions behind them. So no matter how things pan out, the right-wing vote is definitely going to be split between the Tories and at least one far-right option. However, if they want to do a bloody silly thing, then who am I to complain? Only on this occasion, I'm not actually sure, because the unintended consequences, I don't know whether they could be good or bad, could end up being a nice, entertaining way of watching the Tories after they've already shot themselves in the foot, shoot themselves in the other foot in the belief that balancing it out somehow helps. But that might depend on the short-term public attitude. If the attempt to change the leadership results in a poll boost for the Tories, and it comes at a cost to Reform UK, whose pro-fascism support may well prove problematic for them in the coming year, well, yes, that would be a good thing. It would certainly help Labour. However, if the plan backfires, it could cost the Tories even more poll support. Then it becomes a case of seeing who benefits from that, Reform UK or Labour. And if the campaign splits the Tories, but doesn't cause Badenoch to fall, and remember, the party rules means she can't face a confidence vote until like November, then all that happens is the Tories suffer more loss of credibility with the public without even getting a leader who's up to the challenge. Worst of both worlds for them. Still, if this reporting is accurate, then at least we get to enjoy some cabaret entertainment from the Tories this spring. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.